Hello, welcome. Thank you for everyone who's decided to stay here just a little bit longer. I know we're in between you and drinks and an amazing musical performance on this stage. But before we get on to our amazing set of panelists here, I would like to share a few thoughts that I've been typing up and noting during the RISE conference these past 2 days. First, and normally I extemporaneously talk, but these are very important thoughts, so I wrote them down. So pardon my reading. I know this is not good presentation skills. I'm a professor of entrepreneurship and pitching, so I should know better. But my first thought was I'd like to use this opportunity to say thank you and keep on saying thank you, because 9 years ago, UVM's Grossman School of Business took a risk when they hired a long-haired aerospace engineer turned entrepreneurship professor. And I would like to thank my colleagues at UVM's Grossman School of Business, as it continues to be a great ride. One of the reasons that it continues to be a great ride is all of the people who have taken risks with me over the past 9 years, both here at UVM, in Burlington, and in the greater Vermont community, many of whom are part of this RISE Summit, and many of them who are still here in the room today and right now. Once again, thank you for your ongoing support. This friendly and supportive behavior represents both paying it forward, a phrase that many of us are familiar with, as well as a new phrase, paying it sideways, a phrase that I was inspired to create during my time living here in Vermont. For me, this phrase describes how in the depths of a Vermont winter, we help shovel our neighbors' driveways after a snowstorm if we finish shoveling our driveway first. Hopefully some of you do that. If you haven't, start doing it. It's important, especially for our older neighbors. Now, in the spirit of paying it forward and paying it sideways, we have a panel of very entrepreneurial and innovative UVM alumni at different stages in their professional lives, all of whom have amazing stories. These include Issa Sawabini.
Got it.
From Fuse Marketing. I won't mention their class years. Liana Ryan from Long Pond Capital. Calvin Gooley from Cicada. And Nicole Eaton, both from ARC as well as from Verde Technologies. Now, one of the things my students have taught me over the years is that it's not programs which sell and inspire students, but it's people and their stories. So what I like to do now is ask each of the panelists an initial question. What I'd like to hear about is what has been your path from UVM to your present job, or if you're only recently outside of UVM, your path during UVM, that's valid too. And have there been any inspirational people along the way who helped added a why to the what of your lives? So if we'll begin on the far left with Calvin.
Sure. So I feel like I was just here not too long ago graduating, so I might start a little earlier actually, and
Please
then
do.
I can share more of my UVM experience, but I tried a whole bunch of different majors and different jobs while I was at UVM. But where I really got my start, or an opportunity that looks most like what I'm doing now, it came about through snowboarding. And so when I first wanted to learn how to snowboard, it was 2008, which was also the middle of the Great Recession, and not necessarily a great time to tell my parents we needed to buy lift tickets and ski equipment, but there was a small ski area in my town where you could ski for $5 a day. And so that was the lift ticket price for a single day of skiing. And it's all volunteer, nonprofit, but it wasn't doing very well because, again, it was the Great Recession. There wasn't a lot of donation. But my dad was a mechanic. He stepped in. He helped fix the groomer, their snowmaking equipment, and he brought me along as a fifth grader to the board meetings, which I was the youngest guy in the room, but I also was the only person in the room that had any familiarity with Facebook. So very early on, I was managing the Facebook for this organization. They actually had a Dreamweaver website, which, Issa, I don't know if your firm managed those ever, but I'm glad we moved to WordPress. All of a sudden, by 10th grade, I had 5 years of experience accidentally in doing something that's really what I'm doing now, which is helping communicate the value of a local community asset, which was really important for me. That's how I learned how to snowboard and got my start. So happy to share more on UVM too.
Okay, Liana.
Great. So I graduated UVM with a political science major, an economics minor. I'm a born and raised New Yorker, so I returned to New York shortly after graduation. And actually, a UVM alumni who was a recruiter helped introduce me to my first job, which was at Bank of America in the institutional sales and trading desk within the equities division. And I guess for me, I came from a fairly modest background. Financial security was something that was important to me, and having grown up in New York, I had exposure to people who worked in finance. I actually worked, my mom is a nurse, I used to work at her office in the summer and ask people about their professions and learned a lot about the industry that way. And so I started out at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. I did not enter the investment bank through a traditional path. Many investment banks, as some of you in the audience may know, typically recruit from the top 20 schools, Ivy Leagues, et cetera, into these training programs. And immediately, as an assistant on the desk, I said, I need to get more training. I need to learn about stocks and bonds and what everybody here is doing. How can I get myself into one of these training programs? So I actually left Bank of America. I took a job at Bloomberg, which is predominantly a financial technology firm that focuses on providing software to Wall Street in terms of news, analytics, and communication. And they had a training program. So I went to that training program. I learned everything from, what's a stock, what's a bond. I became licensed in the securities industry, which is, your Series 7, your Series 63. And somebody who I had met earlier in my career at Bank of America, who was a very senior person there, called me and said, hey, I'm starting a hedge fund. Do you want to come work in marketing for me? So I didn't really know what that meant. But I said sure, because it sounded exciting. And that's sort of what started my path. I joined that firm in 2007. We raised capital from outside investors, which was primarily my function, to invest in the market in various investment instruments. And then the global financial crisis happened. The firm ultimately suffered losses that led to us shutting down. I returned to Bank of America to work in a group called Capital Introductions, which we partner with hedge fund clients to raise capital for them and advise them on the strategy of their business. It was there that I met my current firm, I guess about 13 years ago. I've been at the firm for 12. And the individual I work for now, I work for a long-short equity hedge fund. We focus on investing in real estate and real estate-related securities. We manage roughly $2 billion, and I do all the fundraising for them. It was an opportunity that popped up when I was working at Bank of America. They were a client of the firm, and it seemed like a very interesting opportunity to go work at a hedge fund focused on real estate in the ashes of the global financial crisis, which was predominantly a real estate crisis. The rest is kind of history. I joined, the firm was $150 million under management, and we've helped, I've helped build the firm and the team to what we are today.
Thank you, Liana. Nicole.
Yeah, I'm going to keep mine short because I just graduated a month ago. But yeah, I came into UVM wanting to be a sports broadcaster. Shortly realized that's not what I wanted to do after interning at a news station. And then I found the ARC program. It was a new program at the time. No one's ever done it. And I was like, okay, let me just try to do it all in this program by talking to people, doing research, learning about this startup, Panic Mechanic. That was my first one. And then led business development for Verde Technologies in the ARC program. Then now directed the program my senior year, and I'm here working part-time for VSET, which you guys have heard a lot about today, and head of partnerships for Verde. So that's kind of my short career right now.
And what about your hobby?
I'm a hip-hop dancer too, so yeah.
So I'm Issa. I also feel like I graduated about a month ago. So that's
Yes.
My career kind of started with all the things that are UVM. So when I was here, I helped start the UVM mountain bike team. Learned all about sports marketing and sponsorships. I ran UVM concerts. Learned all about security and planning and contracts and green rooms and all kinds of craziness. I worked for the athletic department, and they actually gave me a microphone, and I learned how to do public speaking. So they set us out, and I had to announce the names of all the soccer players and lacrosse players, and I just mangled people's names. And the parents would be so mad at me, and you just had to keep talking and talking and talking. And so when you learn how to communicate, you could put me in Shea Stadium right now, and I could talk to 10,000 people. I have no problem because I sat at UVM and mangled soccer players' names for a while. So I got a degree here in recreation management, which I think is now called recreation and tourism and small business, and I had never really understood or heard what a marketing agency was. And Fuse, if you guys don't know, we are a world-class marketing agency based in Winooski, Vermont. We work with some of the world's biggest, best brands like Gatorade and Nike and TikTok and Starbucks. We do all kinds of great marketing, brand events, strategy, social media design, and we kind of fight above our weight. We've got about 40 full-time people, and we're in Burlington, Vermont. Most big marketing agencies are in New York and Chicago and LA. We got started because of snowboarding. Burton Snowboards was our first client. We worked for a long time as an action sports and outdoor sports agency. And so the experience I had at UVM, running mountain bike events, concerts, and other things, gave me the foundation to go into this world. And when I started, the day after I graduated, I actually started as an intern. So Fuse had existed. There were 4 people there when I started. And, I walked in thinking that I was going to be, probably graduated, thought I was going to be the head of marketing at Breckenridge Ski Resort. I thought, and realized I was going to be an intern for a summer. So I actually slept on my friend's couch. I worked 2 other jobs, did the internship, and pretty quickly got a job, kind of evolved to an event manager, then the director of our brand strategy team. We were growing really quickly, and in about 5 years, I was one of the owners of the company, and we continued to innovate. So, coming to Vermont, being able to go out, snowboard 100 days a year, go mountain biking all the time, those are the things I love, and I still get to do it. So I really do feel like I was graduated a month ago, because I'm still doing the same job 25 years later, because I love it so much. And I'll tell you guys more, but we have an awesome team here. I think like half the company is over here heckling me. So
All
yeah.
right, thank you, Issa. That flows very nicely into the next question. So you've already partly answered the next question, but that's all right. Working with entrepreneurs is like herding cats. So what else is there that inspires you? Not what keeps you up at night, but what gets you up in the morning? Sometimes at 8 or 7 in the morning, or 6 or 5 to get to the airplane. To do what you do. And I think I'll mix it up. We'll go in the other direction. We'll go to Nicole for a moment. What inspires you to do what you do these days? Why do you work ARC and this conference? Thank you, Nicole, for organizing many elements of this conference. Let's give her a round of applause. And working with Verde and dancing on the side. What motivates you what energizes you?
People energize me. I love being around people and talking to people, and so I think what wakes me up in the morning is, especially being at VSET every day, I just get to talk to people for my job and help people out. And I love, specifically with Verde, we're changing the world with solar panels, which is really exciting, and just seeing what the Vermont startup ecosystem is doing inspires me to do the same with my peers. And that's why, even though I'm graduated, I still love seeing and hanging out with the ARC students, because they're doing the same thing that I did in school, and just inspiring you guys, because you are doing amazing work, and I see the potential. And so basically just waking up and saying, okay, I'm going to meet new people today. I'm going to network. I'm going to inspire more people. People are going to inspire me. I just love that social interaction. So I know it's kind of cliche, but that's what I'm excited about.
All right, well, let's honor those people. Let's have the ARC team stand up. I know they've been doing a lot in the background of this conference, so stand up and let's give them applause. The ARC team is often what's got me up at 7 or 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning on a Monday to bicycle down the bike path to Hula. Also, the bike path in Hula motivate me, but they're very motivational as well. Liana, what's your source of energy?
Good question. So I think similar to Nicole, being around people, talking to people, learning people's stories. As an investor relations professional who's responsible for raising capital, the majority of our investors are family offices, so people that have made a lot of wealth in a variety of ways. I really enjoy learning about what they do. We also have clients that are endowments and foundations, and we invest their capital and try to grow their capital. And I take that job very seriously, and being able to communicate to them how we're investing their capital inspires me. And yeah, I think.
All right, Calvin?
I think I have the same answer, but so in addition to the people, I also really appreciate the technologies that our clients are developing. So we're working primarily with medical device technologies that have a real impact on patients' lives. And there is almost a fiduciary responsibility, it feels like sometimes, to convey that message really well to the right stakeholders. But yeah, I'm really inspired by even the businesses that they're creating with these technologies as a non-technical person myself. So that's what inspires me.
All right, Issa, same question?
Coffee, lots and lots and lots of coffee.
Any favorite coffee here in Burlington?
See, I really like Carrier, and they're technically in Northfield, but check them out. So,
Anyone else know Carrier?
Carrier coffee, yeah, it's delicious. So there are a couple of things, I think, for me, waking up very early for lots of flights, because we travel a lot in our jobs, so you just got to get to the airport. But I love seeing our team create amazing things and having them go out to the world. So we often spend months and months and months developing ideas and doing the planning and then kind of releasing it to the world. There's a bunch of people here, Olivia, Allison, who've been actually working on this event for the last 9 months. And so it's awesome to see it all become real. And we're fortunate enough to have a lot of great clients doing great things. So every week there's something new that's coming out from kind of our brains into the real world, which is really, really exciting. So that variety of projects and just seeing things come out gets you up every day and gets you really excited.
Okay, well, I'd like to follow up with you, and then we'll wrap around, because the next question is because I know in teaching of entrepreneurship, I understand that leading and building teams is a critical skill set. I'm wondering, either in terms of building and leading teams, are there any tricks or tips you can share with us that works well with your team at Fuse? And likewise, the same question to everyone else down the road.
Yes, I'll give two, and I'll try to be short. I talk a lot. You guys will figure that out. So number one is put people first. I say that everywhere I speak. We work really hard to put the team first. We've been named one of the best places to work in the country by Outside Magazine, and I hope everybody who's here will believe me when I say, there's nothing more important than our people, and we work really hard to create awesome work-life balance. So if it's a vendor, if it's an investor, if it's an employee, a coworker, a friend, put people first. Relationships matter, and just be a good human. And then my other tip is to listen, don't wait to talk. And I think a lot of times when you're connecting with someone, you've got a great idea, you really want to share it, you want to stand up and say something. You'll get your turn to talk. Write it down. Make sure you listen before that way you take in and be present in the conversation. And if you can do those two things, you can kind of get through almost anything.
We're listening now. Okay, now it's time for you to talk, Calvin. What?
Boy, well, listen to Issa, definitely. I was also thinking about people, and so I feel very lucky to be a part of the client teams, oftentimes as an integrated member. So working with these mentors that I've had has been very valuable, and I think that is really what's probably helped me the most, is working closely with people who are far more experienced than I am, and even as part of our clients, right? So,
Liana?
Yeah, I think just to play off what Issa said, one of the things that I try to do is learn from everybody that I work with, taking their perspective, trying to understand, well, what's their job? And so therefore, what's their perspective on what I'm doing and what I'm working on? And what can I take from their perspective that makes me a better leader or a better manager or a better representative of our firm? I think also just humility, which goes hand in hand with that, being able to listen and show some humility. One thing that's come up a couple of times as a manager of people recently is just admitting to mistakes. I mean, I think just starting out in your career, it can feel really uncomfortable to make a mistake. You're going to make them. You just have to accept that they're going to come in order to learn. But those that can say, hey, I kind of screwed this up and here's why, I think that gives you a huge advantage and just disarms the situation. So that's something that I still try to do as a senior professional at our firm. I still make mistakes, and when I do, I tell our founder, hey, this is what happened. I'm sorry. Here's how I propose fixing it. So,
Nicole?
On top of what everyone else was saying, I would just say, like, having passion for what you do. Back to, like, looking forward to waking up in the morning, waking up, having, like, being passionate for what you're doing and the mission that you're working for is really important. And so the morning that I wake up and I'm not passionate about what I'm doing, I know that I need to make change in any aspect or one aspect. And so just always being motivated and having that passion within yourself and for the mission that you're working for.
Now, building on Liana's point about eventually things go wrong and you have to help people through these situations and finding the passion to move on, even in hard times. My next question is, how do you share that passion you have yourself with other people? How do you keep them motivated when things go wrong? Because when we're doing new, innovative, entrepreneurial things, things inevitably will go wrong, and you have to pick yourself up and move on. But how do you do that? Because that's not easy. So let's begin with Issa and then work our way back down the line.
Yeah, so, we never make mistakes. No, that's not true. We're not robots, and I think it's important for people to learn, when things go wrong, there's lots of reasons for it. In the world that we are in, events in particular, we can't control the weather, we can't control a lot of things, and so we do the best we can. We go out and do a great job, but sometimes mistakes happen, and we have to go through and navigate that. So it's all about creative problem solving. I think when we're talking to potential employees, always knowing that there's a next step, always making sure that no matter what the mistake or problem is, there's always a path forward is critical in the job that we're in. So just thinking creative problem solving and marching forward.
Okay. Nicole?
Yeah, I would just say being flexible, being transparent at all areas and ways on the path, just making sure that, just like Kyle Clark said yesterday, don't say anything about the future, just talk about the past. So making sure that you're not promising something that's not going to happen. Being transparent with what your goal is or what you're doing is really important.
yeah, I think, there's this quote that someone shared with me once, which was, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And that's, I think, really important to keep in mind because we all make mistakes and often it's the path to how we learn. So, keeping people motivated after a mistake, it's, for me, it's like, hey, it happened. Let's go back and understand why it happened and why it won't happen in the future. And remaining humble and solution oriented because it's just, it's a part of doing business.
To add to what Liana said earlier, I think celebrating failures, especially like the really small ones, and just calling them out in meetings has at least helped me. So maybe when there is a more catastrophic level issue, that might help the little practice here and there. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I would add to that. So.
All right. Now, just because I'm a teacher and I have a wealth of TED Talks in my head, if you go, after this session, you go into your little search engine, whichever it might be, and you type TED Talk, and you type AstroTeller, so ASTROTELLER, you'll get a nice little Google focus on Google X, a great example about how they lead failure at Google. This is the teacher in me, pardon me, I can't stop spitting out TED Talks. Now, what about UVM? What, from your days at UVM, are you carrying with you these days? Has there been any inspirational moments or lessons that you've taken away from your time at UVM which has helped you in your shorter or longer careers after graduation? Issa.
I gave you some before. But I think the one thing I always talk about at UVM is that, the number of people that I still interact with personally and from business is unbelievable. And so, I tried to meet as many people as I could. And going back to put people first, when you guys are in your class, meet everybody. If you sit down next to somebody and you don't know who that person is, introduce yourself. It is wild. You guys saw, I guess, 90. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I still interact and see people from UVM all the time. It's a very, very small world, and I had no idea how small it was when I was in college because it felt like a really big world, and it gets smaller as you get older. So just know that the people you're interacting with and meeting with now, you're going to cross paths with later, and it's important to try to build those relationships.
Nicole?
Yeah, building relationships is everything. I think also know that the faculty like you, Erik, and Kirk, you, really helped get ARC off the ground specifically, and just making change, and knowing that you guys, you're for us, you're on our team. And that was just really special. And that's something that I'll always hold on forever and reach out to you guys because you're always here and supportive. So that's kind of something that I love about UVM, and that I truly believe no other university has that kind of relationship.
So what did I get from UVM? Well, I met my husband, so that was great. I made a lot of friendships, and echo what Issa said, in terms of just, making friendships and leveraging those friendships down the road. I think, too, like one of the things that I thought about when that question was presented is just, above all, UVM gave me Vermont. I mean, I had the privilege recently of returning to Vermont. I think Vermont is an exceptionally special place, a special state for all the reasons many of you know. And it's one of the things that stands out to me about the state of Vermont and everybody in it, and I think at UVM this was very clear, is just the entrepreneurial spirit. And I was recently at something where I was reminded how much Vermont businesses put back into the Vermont economy each year. And so, I think for me, it made me passionate about helping Vermont continue to grow its business community, which is something that, this conference certainly is an objective, it seems, of the conference. And, I'm pretty passionate about that. And I think UVM helped put that in place for me.
I feel like I had a really unique experience with a professor that might not have happened anywhere else. So Professor Jane Nodell, I was meeting her senior year for the first time, and I walked into her office with a proposition that she allow me to intern for my own business as my own boss for college credit. And she said yes, which was pretty incredible. I would not have been able to continue working on my business had she not said that. And I think that really allowed me to focus on both my academics and what I was already starting while I was at UVM, which felt really rare at the time.
Okay. Do we have, I know we're in between you, a musical performance, and the reception. Other questions from the audience? Other questions for this panel? I see Kirk's hand is going up. Is there a microphone for Kirk?
He doesn't need one.
I've kind of got a built-in microphone. So, how do we keep getting your ideas back, right? I mean, we hold a conference like this, we bring you in, but I've been here for 3 years. I don't meet the recent alumni folks who are in business and are successful, and we're really trying to do something different in that way. How do we reach you more regularly? How do we get you to reach us? Because the foundation has an alumni office that blasts you with some emails, and probably so often that you don't want to reply anymore, or you opt out. How do we get you in line with some of the things that we're doing, the programming that we're doing, and bring you back in? Because I think we really have some gaps that could be filled.
I mean, I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind, I think this conference is awesome. And it probably year over year, now that I know about it, I was just telling Nicole, there's probably 10 people, I live in Stowe, there's probably 10 people, Amazon, that work at Amazon, like all these places that would love to come back and contribute to this in some way. So from my perspective, just leveraging the people at this conference and their networks to spread that word and continue growing this. I mean, one of the thoughts I've had too is like, how do you bring together the business community in Vermont? Because there is a big business community in Vermont, but it is fragmented and people stay to themselves a lot. So I don't know. I think this is a first excellent step in that direction.
We can have a whole meeting about this if you like. There are lots of great alumni groups in other communities, and I know people who participate in those. And I think anyone who's with the foundation knows there's an inverse relationship between time and money when you're an alumni, right? So when you come out of school, you have more time and less money. And so it's about focusing on time and opportunity and kind of local alumni. So I come up every semester and speak at several classes and really enjoy that. But it feels like these isolated moments. So there may be opportunities to connect more dots. And with all respect to the fundraising folks, focus more on the time and less on the money, and you'll get a lot of us to be more engaged.
That's a good point, yeah.
Also, don't shut down our emails. A lot of the times the email is like, yeah. That's one thing that I recently ran into. So yeah, just keep the email open or just make it a more streamlined process so we, get those.
I know, might die on the cross for that one, but. Oh my God, I can't believe we shut down. It's just, when you come from the outside here, there's certain institutional habits that are just, palm to face, and you just can't believe it. But I have heard that before, Nicole. That's a good idea.
On a positive note, I was at a Boston UVM networking event last night, and everyone was talking about moving back to Vermont, so I do think it's working. A lot of people who I was speaking with said that they would like to come back, so yes.
I would echo that. Everyone I went to UVM wants to come back, and we need more of these conferences with more of these companies to give them that opportunity. So that's beyond the great institution and learnings, this place is incredible, and people have had an incredible experience here. And as we're recruiting people to work at Fuse from outside, we have a better chance if they've been here before. And so you've got a whole group of people who've been here, and so we can bring them back, and they all want to work here. We just need to find the opportunities for them.
Other questions from the audience? No other questions. You're questioned out. Well, then I have one final question, and this is inspired by David Bradbury and Sam Roach-Gerber of VSET here in town. At the end, when they have a great series, I have with me here my coffee mug, which is actually a piece of swag from an entrepreneurship research journal that I do some work for. But there's this large sticker here, Start Here. So VSET, if you really want to hear more stories about other successful entrepreneurs who've come out of Vermont, go to the VSET website. It's really easy to find, vcet.co, and they have a podcast called Start Here. And Sam and Dave, for the past 5 or 6 years now, I think you've interviewed over 70 Vermont entrepreneurs. Are they still here to correct me in my numbers? No. But one of the questions they have at the end of all their interviews is they have the magic wand question. And please tell them that I asked this question, but I think it's a really cool question. If there's one thing you could do by waving a magic wand and either change it UVM or add to UVM, because we have so many good things to begin with, you don't have to change it, but maybe add to it. And we could have maybe a magical checkbook somewhere where an alumni could write several zeros on it and a signature. What would that be? What do you think we need at UVM that we don't have just yet? Let's begin with Nicole, who's most recently graduated.
I would just say more money for student startups.
Okay. Yeah. Calvin?
I spoke with someone earlier, and it looks like Sodexo has come a long way since I was here. So they mentioned that the food was much better now, and that was probably what I was most concerned about as a freshman.
Okay, so more money for startups, better food. Yes? Liana?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, let's see, I'm trying to think. I think this kind of content is awesome. I wish that I don't remember having access to this sort of stuff when I was at UVM, which would have been great just to learn about what people do and so more alumni engagement, I think.
Okay.
I have many ideas, as I often do, but we are in one of the great hubs of the outdoor industry, and I think there's probably more than 20 of my friends that went to UVM that work in the outdoor industry, yet there is no outdoor industry program. And so the commercialization of, recreation is a great program, but between product development and marketing and all these things, the recreation economy is like $40 billion, and we could be a leader in the recreation economy across a variety of things. So I'm just standing up a whole new school. If that I'm sure we can get the money for that. But somehow taking the magic that is around us and creating a program that will prepare people to work in the outdoor economy in many different ways.
So in other words, location, location, location. Old business wisdoms. Okay, I have one other last favor. In the spirit of Patty Prelock, who does better social media than I do, I need to take some selfies here, just to show, for my Facebook page. I know Calvin is great at Facebook, but first, if everyone at the stage could look my way. Okay. Let me get a better picture of you all here. Let's look this way. Yep. Okay, wait. Just a moment here. Let's just turn around. Okay, maybe nothing. Yeah. Okay. And now we need one of the audience. We need everyone in the audience cheering. Just a moment here.
There we go.